John Ray writes in a foreword that Humbert Humbert, author of the following manuscript titled Lolita, or the Confession of a White Widowed Male, died in jail just before his trial was to start in 1952. Humbert narrates hereafter. He details his European childhood and background as a scholar and relates his tragic childhood love for Annabel Lee, whose death traumatized Humbert. Humbert is now obsessively attracted to nymphs, young girls who possess a mysterious seductive power. After shuttling around some mental institutions and doing odd writing jobs, Humbert lands in the New England town of Ramsdale. He takes a room at the house of widower Charlotte Hayes because her beautiful young daughter, Lolita, reminds him of Annabel. Humbert lusts after and flirts with Lolita, but is afraid to do anything lest the repulsive Hayes, who once Humbert, discover the lodger's pedophilia. Lolita goes off to summer camp, and Humbert reluctantly marries Hayes, since it is his only chance to keep Lolita in his life. Humbert toys with the idea of killing Hayes, but is unable to do it. She discovers his diary filled with entries about his love for Lolita and hatred for her, and tells him she is leaving. However, she is immediately hit by a car, and Humbert picks Lolita up at camp. He eventually breaks the news about her mother's death, and at a hotel called the Enchanted Hunter, they have sex for the first time. A strange man seems to take a keen interest in them. Humbert and Lolita drive across the US for 1 year. Humbert threatens to put Lolita in an orphanage if she does not comply with his sexual demands. Humbert gets a job in Bursley College and enrolls Lolita in the girls' school there. Lolita's desire to socialize with boys strains a relationship with Humbert, and he finally agrees to let her participate in a school play called The Ancient Hunters. Humbert suspects Lolita of infidelity, and they leave for another road trip. A man who resembles a relative of Humbert's named Trapp seems to be following them, and Lolita appears to be in contact with him. When Lolita gets sick and is placed in a doctor's office, she is taken away by the man who resembles Trapp. Humbert tries to find her for the next 2 years, but to no avail. He takes up with a woman named Rita for 2 years until he receives a letter from Lolita, now married, pregnant, and asking for money. Humbert plans to kill Lolita's husband, but when he visits them, finds out that her kidnapper was actually Claire Kilty, a playwright with whom Lolita was in love. When she refused to participate in his child pornography films, he rejected her. Lolita declines Humbert's invitation to live with him, and he leaves heartbroken. Humbert finds out where Kilty lives, and after talking with Kilty and shooting him numerous times, kills him. Humbert is arrested and put in jail, where he finishes his memoir. As we learned from the foreword, he died soon after in captivity, and Lolita died while giving childbirth that Christmas. The most noticeable feature of Lolita, and the main reason for its staying power, is Humbert's gorgeous, tricky, and delightful prose. Nabokov's primary motivation for writing so beautifully is to plunge the reader into a state of aesthetic bliss. Nabokov believed that all stories should resemble fairy tales, and the storyteller should be a kind of enchanter. In addition to this blissful enchantment, the language of Lolita has a number of other effects. Inherent in this aesthetic bliss is a freezing of time. Humbert also diverts the reader from his ugly actions with his pretty words, but he goes beyond mere prettiness. His constant wordplay and verbal games force us to concentrate on language rather than on him. Nabokov also subverts the mystery genre by using language as the main dispenser of clues, rather than action. While some of the verbal acrobatics are merely for entertainment, the flood of allusions often reveals clues to Quilty's identity and Humbert's character. Since Nabokov believes fiction should not be moral, but only aesthetic, he mocks our tendency to make moral judgments by having Humbert address his readers as jury members and judges. However, this explanation obscures a complicated investigation into morality, fate, and free will. Humbert attempts to remove moral responsibility for his actions by subscribing to a philosophy of fate. If he is not in charge of events, then he cannot be held liable for them. By the end of the novel, however, he admits he exercised free will in his abuse of Lolita and deserves some kind of punishment. Still, he does not believe capital punishment or even jail serves up the degree of suffering he has inflicted upon himself by losing Lolita.